Welcome back to the channel, guys. EA and I have decided to do something slightly different, a little bit of a spin on what we've been producing lately, draft content, because the stories, the storylines, and reactions to Ravens free agency losses today were so visceral, rightfully so. In some cases, the Tyler Linderbaum one, I think you don't know, EA, because you're not on social media, but the Tyler Linderbaum announcement was kind of the breaking point I saw for like people's reactions. I don't recall if the Simpson signing was that much ahead of Linderbaum. I seem to remember it being like 30 minutes ahead. You found out about them all at the same time, right?
Yeah, later this afternoon. Yeah.
So it did for us. It was very weird because the Simpson signing the announcement came through, and then that pretty much told you, okay, 3 years, 30 million. We're definitely not going to have money for Linderbaum. So the progression, it was actually less than 30 minutes, I believe. It may have been as few as like 15 or 18.
Yeah. So that came through prior to Linderbaum's news.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think yesterday afternoon, there was a report from some NFL, reputable source that the Raiders, Ravens, and one other team were kind of still lobbying, their offers at him and his agent, but we just couldn't go that high, right?
Did it put you in the mind of the Mosley deal a couple of years ago, where I felt all along that the Ravens were going to re-sign Mosley, and then I forget what the number was, but it was something like $4 or $5 million over what the Ravens had offered Mosley, which at the time was a good offer.
Couldn't match it.
It was just something that he couldn't turn down, I suppose. But I remember that was shocking at the time. This isn't the number is shocking. I mean, the number is just beyond what you would expect. 27 million a year for any center, really.
And he's 25 years old.
Yeah. So he's got 3 years from now. If he plays this way, he's going to get paid again.
Yeah, it's perfect fit for the Kubiak under center, outside zone system. Not that he's, perfectly executing on all those run concepts, but Linderbaum is exceptional at reaching people and comboing up, cutting off second-level defenders, linebackers generally. And so I think from that standpoint, it's a perfect fit for them. It creates a third hole for the Ravens. Well, I guess our front office thinks that one of those offensive line holes has been filled by John Simpson. We'll maybe show a little bit of film later, and we're talking about him. I think first I want to focus on the possibly record-setting, if I read the tweet right, amount of money that our guys signed for. Are there any of these that surprised you? Certainly Linderbaum wasn't one of them.
Well, the dollar amount for Linderbaum, that surprised me. Oweh for $100 million. That's a big deal. Who else?
Those outside linebackers got paid. I mean, Mafe, 3 years, $60 million after a season where he produced 2 sacks. And yeah. I'm a Boye Mafe fan. I've liked his film since 2022, but 2 sacks and 31 tackles get you 3 years, $60 million, and then Oweh produces with the Chargers for 2/3 of a season, I guess, and that gets him 4 years, 100. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that Mafe is going to be a guy that certainly gets a lot more time in Cincinnati, but I think he fits them pretty well. I don't know that means he should get $60 million for 3 years, but we'll find out.
6'5", 265, super athletic, plays incredibly hard. I've been a fan of his for since his rookie year, actually since he was at Minnesota. I remember him coming out in this 2020. Yeah. That was a special draft class. It wasn't just a special draft class for the Ravens. I think it was a special class for all of college football. If you recall, there's people saying this is almost 1.5 drafts in one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's starting to look that way for sure. 4 years or 5 years down the road. Yeah. Kolar to the Chargers, Stout to New York.
Everyone to New York.
Yeah. There's a big part of me, Coach, that would have signed Kohler and let Mark go, presumably was just too much money. I think I would have just wished that they signed Kohler and then drafted the production somewhere else. I think this is a class where you can get Mark Andrews numbers, at least from the last year.
Oh, no, I agree. The tight end class here is good. And do you think, I'll move on, I'll parlay that into a question. Do you think that we, people on the outside, have too high a expectation for NFL front offices? And what I mean is, people like you and I are either just now or maybe 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago coming to the realization of how deep some of these position groups are in the draft. For myself, it became eye-opening looking at the edge defender group. Do you think we have too high of expectations or standard for some of the NFL front offices? Meaning they chose to re-sign Mark Andrews, presumably after likely turned down a similar offer, with no one in the front office saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't have to pay $13 million a year for this guy or that guy or whatever, because we could draft, Eli Stowers, or we could draft Jolly, or whoever the players might be, not those specific guys. Do you ever wonder if maybe we think they're more prepared than they actually are for the upcoming draft? Does that make sense?
Yeah. In the case of Mark particular, I would guess, just speculation, that there's a personal relationship component that plays into it. Plus the fact that he is a good player and that he has been productive in the past, but he has not, since that contract, and I don't know how many games it's been, several, really didn't play like Mark Andrews. And maybe there's reasons for that. Maybe he'll come out and tear it up this year. But I do think we could draft his production. I don't know. If I were a scout, I think I would be a little bit put off by that sort of thing. If it was my job to find players and save the organization money and these sorts of things, I just wonder about that signing in particular. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure that's
no, you're not. And I think, perhaps sometimes on social media or in my Ravens Discord, which is extremely active, and today just blew up. My phone wouldn't even register all the messages. I kept scrolling, and it just kept. There's a button on it that'll say like mark as read, and I think it'll take you to the most recent message. And I don't like to do that. Like if people are in my Discord, part of my Patreon, it's like $5 a month. I want to read what they have to say, because it's selfishly, it helps me understand what Ravens fans are talking about in a filtered manner. I don't have to go to social media and worry about a Twitter algorithm. I can just go read it directly from dozens of people that are interacting. It's the biggest blessing for me. I don't mean financially. I mean exposure,
Sure.
And so, the messages was insane. I think there was at one point in time in a 3 or 5 minute period, there was like 73 messages for people. It was like, doot, doot, doot. I turned the sound notification off, obviously. And so I don't think Ravens fans are wrong sometimes for those visceral reactions to Andrews signing and Likely. It seems to me as if Likely's contract, very similar, 3 years, numbers wise, total, very similar to Andrews. But I think there's some differences in the way that the cap hit works out for Andrews, because some of it was parlayed to last season, right? 2025.
Was it 40? 3 years, 40 million? Is that what they got him?
I'm not sure. I thought 3 years, 37 is what I read, or 3 years, 30, maybe it's 3 years, 39, somewhere in that range. The one that surprised me a little bit was Oweh. Of course, he's not the 2022 draft class though, and we had traded him away. The sheer number, the commitment of 4 years, number one, who knows if there's an out, but $25 million per, heading into this draft class that we think is pretty good at edge. And, maybe it doesn't have that many guys that are going to be able to match Oweh's production for 2026. Washington's, made a huge investment there. That's the one that surprised me. I don't know about anybody listening or watching as this premieres, if they were as surprised. Not a current Raven, or wasn't a current Raven at the end of 2025 season, but someone that was drafted by us in 2021. And then of course, Falele hasn't signed anywhere yet. So that number from the 22 class, which includes Kyle Hamilton's contract, could presumably get even larger. I have no idea what Falele's market would be, to be honest with you. I would assume pretty low figure.
Yeah. Are we in store potentially for compensatory picks for Dre'Mont Jones? Certainly Linderbaum. Who else?
I think Linderbaum's is potentially a third because of the contract and then the playing time, and who knows if he gets any. I think people are underestimating what Kubiak can get done offensively in one season there in Las Vegas. The Seahawks offensive line wasn't dominant in the run game. Sam Darnold played really well. The Rashid Shaheed acquisition was huge for them during the season, and now they've since re-signed him 3 years for $51 million, I believe, which was great for Seattle. And then JSN being one of the best receivers in the league. My point is, I think that it's going to be possible for Kubiak to recreate some of that in Vegas pretty quickly if he improves the offensive line. Linderbaum's a part of it, and Ashton Janty's got some talent. So I could see us getting a third round for Linderbaum, and I think the projection is a fifth for Dre'Mont, but maybe it was a sixth. I could be wrong.
And the two tight ends, Likely and Kolar, we'll get something for them, I would imagine. Perhaps that I'm certain that played into, not that we would have re-signed them necessarily, but giving up those 2 first-round picks, that softens the blow a little.
Mm-hmm.
You can anticipate even mid-round picks coming back to you. That softens the blow of next year.
Extra third rounder, extra fifth, or maybe sixth for Dre'Mont, and as well as these other guys. I think two points there, and then we'll move on to our other free agent acquisition or trade acquisition. The guy that I know I love watching film of, and I know you did too, Max Crosby. Two points. The front office deserves credit for the 22 draft class, clearly, because the rest of the league recognizes what they've grown into. But I think that there's a little boost there because that draft class was related to the pandemic and so many holdovers in college football. I think some people referred to it as 1.5 draft classes in one in that year. I may have my year. Do I have my years wrong? I think it was the 22 group that was so highly rated because of the depth.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the right year.
So puts us, puts that in another light, because that was the year that we had so many 4th round picks, and all of those guys, a lot of those guys, have gotten paid.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss the big story for this team, which was getting Max Crosby? I did a film study on him, and I know you did too. Yeah.
What'd you think, Coach, when you heard it? What was your first reaction?
I was in the middle of a long evening with my youngest son, who was not feeling well, and so it was like, well, this is great. I would love to read everyone's messages in the Discord, and I'd love to create some content early for Saturday morning. Just couldn't do so. My wife and I were helping him hopefully get through the night, and not sleeping at all, any of us. And so, but I was super excited for Baltimore. I mean, it addresses one of the two most specific needs, pass rush and offensive line. And Steve Bisciotti directly put those things out there in that press conference, right? Talking about Harbaugh, being fired. I think he immediately put Eric DeCosta and the front office, I don't want to say on notice, but that, hey, these two things got to be addressed. Well, they handled this one. So I think it's a fantastic move. I have no trouble giving up 2 first-round picks whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. I don't look at it as giving up a pick this draft. He's our pick. So really, to me, it's just the one next year. I think it does put a certain pressure or heightened pressure to win the Super Bowl, because if you come in second or you lose in the championship game, you're not just picking 30th or 31st or 29th in the first round and surrendering that. Then you got to wait till the back end of the second to get a pick. So yeah, it's all in at this point. Really, that's really what you have to do, is go win the Super Bowl this year. there's a window, but you'd like to take care of it this first year. And I think that he is a missing piece, or one of the missing pieces for sure. I mean, everyone's speculating about how dynamic the front could be, and it hasn't fully been filled out yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the draft. But you brought up a good point on one of your videos about Crosby and Hamilton on the same side.
Oh my goodness!
That really got me thinking about what that would do. He's being chipped. Max has to be accounted for and chipped.
You noticed that on film, right? That it's a lot. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah. You they're thinking about him on every play, every single play in protection. He's a lot. Does he put you in the mind of T.J. Watt? I mean, there's yeah,
absolutely. I am a huge fan of Kyle Hamilton. We all are as Ravens fans, and we remember drafting him and all the dumb stuff that was talked about in his first training camp and preseason, and then played well that year at 22, 23, amazing, all pro. And I think there's an argument to be made that Max Crosby is the best player on this defense. I know that there'll be people say, it's Kyle Hamilton. It's obviously Kyle Hamilton. This guy's all Hall of Fame track, statistically. And plays every snap. I mean, go look at the game chart, the snap count by game. He plays 100% of the snaps more often than not. And, hopefully we don't do that with him here. Hopefully we can get that to a 90 or 92% number. Keep him fresh, because there's so many interesting aspects to his game. Tremendous effort on every snap, great pursuit.
Yeah.
All of those things. It's to me, it's the pre-snap recognition that I'm most interested in. I mean, we can watch him play, look at him, we can look at the picture. Great frame, long arms, super athletic. The Watt comparison, I get it. I think that's a great one. For me, the pre-snap recognition is the really scary part, because he's a defensive end, outside linebacker. Most of the time I think, associate pre-snap recognition. Well, before I say that, who would be the guys in Ravens recent history or history at all that we would associate with great pre-snap recognition and then things happening post-snap because of their ability to see it? Who would be those guys? It's an obvious answer. There's at least two.
Yeah, linebackers, Ed, Ray.
That's right.
Suggs.
Suggs would absolutely. Those would be the three guys. And to me, when I'm watching the film, at this point, 4 games, tried to record a little bit of another Crosby video. When I'm watching the film, he's getting in his stance late, but it's certainly not a thing that's lazy. He's gathering intel, and he's looking at guard, center, guard, or he's looking at alignments of running backs, quarterback, where the quarterback's eyes are. I have no idea, but there's some things that he knows, because he's 6 for 6 in the film that I watched, the first 3 games that I watched, I should say, on standing there, looking and seeing something. Generally plays on the left, offense to right, and then saying something to the defensive tackle to his inside, to his right, and then stunting down inside C gap or inside B gap. And on all 6 occasions, it was run away from him. So he's not just recognizing run and pass, he's recognizing that it's run away from him. That can only be because you're a super intelligent football player. So along with all the physical gifts, great motor, cardio at his size, we've got a guy who's super smart too.
He's got such aggression and hair on fire about him, and it's very Raven-y. I'm sure people would say it's very Raidery, but it's almost like he's coming here to kind of further the education of some of these younger players. And you're going to see the way he plays. I think you're going to see that trickle down, and you're going to see other guys on this team step their game up as well. I think Mike Green plays this way. Mike Green's not the player that he is, but Mike Green is, and I think, we're going to see Mike Green step up this year. That's my hope anyway. And a lot of it will have to do with this guy, Crosby.
We're going to see how talented Mike Green is. We're going to see how good he is.
Yeah. I think Crosby's going to have a big, big year. I think he's going to face a lot of double teams and a lot of chips and all that stuff. But he's playing on a team now that can get up on people. And I think you're going to see him put up some numbers.
Did you see the stat about 2025, the percent of snaps that Max Crosby was on the field when the Raiders had the lead?
Mm-mm.
It was like 22%. You know what? Actually, the stat may have been extrapolated before 2025 as well. So I may be misquoting, but I think it was 22%, a very low number. They never had the lead.
Yeah, that's kind of hurt. He sort of poured his heart out a little bit and really obviously loves what the Raiders were to him and what he was to that team. But he's gonna be in the building for about 2 weeks, and he's going to start falling in love with this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is.
I'm super interested to see how Minter takes advantage of this chess piece, meaning I think that he will make the pass pro for the other team more predictable because of his alignment. And so from that, I think Minter will be able to, and Weaver, I should say, will be able to build blitzes / coverages that take advantage of what they're seeing. I think Minter is along the same lines as McDonald in that they are exceptional at exploiting pass protection schemes. Crosby, to me, makes the offense kind of have to, I guess you could say, declare their pass pro a little bit sooner and a little bit more consistently to his side. I see, free agency today, Ravens fans would certainly say the first day of free agency, a loss, right? We lost so many players. We didn't gain any. Well, Tyler Huntley, right? John Simpson. But this guy, to me, we should interpret it along with it. I don't know. That's probably not fair. He can't count as our first round pick and a free agent acquisition, right?
Right.
He's that good, though. He theoretically could. We should try to maintain a positive outlook. I am, at least.
Yeah, well, I like what you said about him causing an offense to declare, because that leads me to just imagine a lot of free runners from the second level or off the edge on blitzes at times, really strategically timed blitzes where guys just are left unattended and get a hit on the quarterback. I think that's a good point.
It makes me wonder, too, about the range of that he offers post-snap, not just his length, his wingspan. I mean, range of impact, ability to deter people from running the ball in a certain area, but also close if you run away from him. I was I'll admit this. When I was growing up, I was a Redskins fan for a period of time. And then when the Bills were not the first team, they were actually the second team to go to the no-huddle offense. It was the Cincinnati Bengals first with Boomer Esiason, to my memory. And so when the Bills went to the K-gun offense with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, I started rooting for the Bills. And they had a defensive end, Bruce Smith, that people used to say, well, you can't run at him because he's so disruptive. And you can't run away from him either because he'll chase things down. I feel like even though Kyle Hamilton's obviously not a defensive end, we now have two guys that fit the same description, Max Crosby and Kyle Hamilton.
Excellent point. Yep. He will chase stuff down backside for sure. And he'll beat you up if you come at him too.
Exceptional run defender. And so getting back to something you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, and I don't know how often you think of it this way. I know I did from a coaching standpoint. I don't know whether we want to have him and Crosby on the same side or opposite side. Sometimes you want to balance out your defense with your best players. Crosby generally plays on the left. Hamilton, if he's the nickel, is going to be to the field. So, when the ball's on the left hash for the offense, with the wide side to the right for the offense, you would expect Crosby and Hamilton to be on the same side.
Yeah.
Hamilton is the nickel, Crosby on our left. Those two things would overlap or coincide. versus the other way, ball on the right hash, Crosby would be, quote, into the boundary. I wonder if Crosby's not going to turn into our field side defensive end. He can play both sides. I don't know if you've thought about, I think the combinations that Minter and Weaver have here, the options are just amazing for packaging those guys together or using them on opposite sides. But I know this, if you package them together, the pass protection is going to have to be called to that side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's absolutely what came to me straight away when I heard you talking about that. That hadn't even occurred to me to think that way. Yeah, that's a dangerous pair coming. And that's a dangerous couple of pass rushers coming off the edge or potentially coming off the same side. And that's going to free somebody up opposite for sure.
The thought, well, I wasn't smart enough to come up with that myself. People who helped me from a coaching standpoint revealed those things to me. If you want to deter the other team from calling more plays to the field, well, put your D1 defensive end there, or your all conference, nickel or outside linebacker, whatever people want to call it. You can be a deterrent, and then you can set your defense up to the boundary, kind of anticipating the team running there. There's a limited, game flow or game option at the high school level compared to the NFL, of course. But I think what I'm describing is we have two deterrents now. And that's a huge asset that hopefully for you guys listening or watching helps you feel a little bit better after the first day of free agency. Because, we're recording this Monday evening with the idea of releasing it late Monday night. Final thought about Crosby. Are you as happy as I am that we got him in the building for the price point that we did? It's a below market value per year for a top 5 edge defender, because I think he signed it after the 24 season. Maybe it was after 23.
Yeah, I honestly don't know too much about the dollars behind it. I just strangely got over the idea of losing 2 picks very quickly when I started thinking about the possibilities of him. And I do think the Ravens positive DeCosta is working on getting that first round pick back. I'm not sure how on earth he's going to do that, but he'll get some picks back. It's the having 2 superstars that are similar in a lot of ways is very exciting. He and Kyle.
Matabike's availability, presence would really be almost in some ways like acquiring 2, I hate to say 2 new players, but he missed so much time in 25 that Matabike anywhere near, even 80% near, his full capability would be, along with Travis Jones and Max Crosby, a really good start for Minter, I think.
Oh yeah. I've got high hopes for Peebles as well with Minter. I really do.
Guy with some pass rush, juice, if you will.
Yep.
Do you want to, I guess maybe what we'll do here is kind of parlay this a little bit into, we lost the first round pick for Crosby. And so I know you and I had spent time preparing to talk about second round offensive line options, specifically at guard. And now we've acquired John Simpson. I have my own opinions about him from his time here in 2023. I was glad that, we let him go elsewhere. Big guy, very strong, don't get me wrong. So there's some ability there. There's some positives. How much of a upgrade he is over Voorhees? He certainly is an upgrade, I think, because he's very durable. He's somewhat similar to Falele in that he plays every snap and he doesn't miss games. So that ended up being a negative in some ways for Falele. But, he's a guy who is billed as a better pass protector than run blocker. And I'm not sure that I see that when I watch the film of him from 2025.
Yeah. So I just started watching him once we signed him. I remember him from Baltimore, not being too enamored of him and not being upset about him leaving as such. So, given that he's been gone a couple years, I'm really going to sit down and watch him in earnest. I just started today watching him as a Jet, and so far not so good. So far the results, I'm not that impressed. That's not very specific, I know. But,
no, it's not. But you're not talking about. We expect to be in a highly focused on outside zone stretch system. That's what we expect. And so to hear that we've got a better pass pro guy than run blocker, okay, what's the goal here? It almost feels like we knew that certain guards weren't going to be available to us in free agency, and so we just kind of settled on bringing a guy back who I like the guard class. Maybe I'm in a different place than other people. I feel like 45. Do you feel like you got the guy that you're going to talk about in a little bit, Bisantis, right, from A&M,
yeah,
and then Pregnan, Rutledge from Georgia Tech. They have a physical style, a lot of quarterback run plays. I feel like one of those guys could possibly be there at 45. Do you think that's naive or too optimistic?
I think Rutledge will be there. I wonder about Bisantis being there. But I do like the guard class. I don't know if Bisantis or the other guy that we're going to talk about a little bit tonight will be there at 45.
Yeah, I'm going to let you pronounce his name first.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Ihenator. Max Ihenator. I like him a lot, but Pregnon, I like him in pass protection quite a bit based on what I've seen. So there are definitely some guys. There's a guy at Notre Dame who I just started watching. I can't think of his name.
Billy Schroth or Schrath?
Schroth, yeah.
Haven't watched him yet.
I think there's some guys, and I think it's a little concerning. I don't know if that's too strong a word. That if they would have given him, say, 2 years, $10 million or something like that, where you bring him in, meaning Simpson, and you give him an opportunity to be competed against. But he's been given starter money, at least.
Yeah, this is money that says he's our guy. He's our left guard. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, as far as that goes, I don't know. What I've seen is that he does have a big body in that sense. Maybe he's a better pass protector. I haven't watched him enough, but as a run blocker, I've seen him sort of getting to a spot, trying to reach a guy and not using his hands at all. I've seen him coming off double teams a little early, and I'm just watching one game. I just started the second game. Watch versus the Ravens.
You're talking about our game against them.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about players that we're familiar with, in our defense. I think what could be an outcome is that we do draft. My fear is that, okay, we got John Simpson, and presumably, Emory Jones is our right guard. And so we don't need to look at a guard at 45. That's my fear. I mean, we as a organization, as a front office, I feel like if some of those guys are there that you're describing, that it'd be worth our time. But now we've got, Jones on a second year of his rookie deal, Simpson on a 3-year deal. I don't know if there's an out or anything like that after 2 years. And so, I can't blame Ravens fans for being disappointed here with this signing, even though, hey, that's generational wealth for John Simpson and his family. But we saw him play here before. He was penalty prone in Baltimore in 2023. And I think the same thing. I watched 5 quarters today, and I said to Cole Jackson in a message on Twitter, so how many games did you watch? He told me he watched 6. And I was like, I watched 5 quarters. And at the end of the first quarter of the second game, I just said, all right, I've seen enough. It's pretty much the same guy for me.
Usually you don't have to watch too much to see something that you like. Do you know what I mean? Something that'll catch your eye and keep you watching. That does seem to follow logically, Coach, the scenario you described. That they have an idea about their right guard, they have an idea about their left guard, and consequently will take somebody in the 5th round or something to that effect,
Yeah. Competition won't be, competition may not be, a focus for us now because we've got dedicated guys at left guard and right guard.
It also seems to suggest to me that they're going to look at that they're thinking wide receiver and corner.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to fill in that. That's what it seems to say to me. Is
You mean 45 at 45 specifically? Yeah.
Like in this draft in general, that's I think they think that's a priority.
Yeah, some of those guys are there. I mean, like I like Omar Cooper a lot. I like both of the Indiana receivers a lot. I mean, I know people don't like them as much as I do, but I'm like, those guys are tough. You know, they win and they block well. So, you know, to your point, the Ravens like to zig when everyone else zags. And I do feel like NFL front offices leading up to day one of free agency or whatever this is called, legal tampering, right?
Yeah.
I do feel like most of the rest of the NFL has told us that they like the offensive line class because they've been, you know, releasing quality offensive linemen and whatnot. We like to go against the grain, and so maybe we don't have the same view. I've not been in line with the Ravens offensive line plan globally for, I don't know, 4 years. Can we count 2021 with all the injuries? I mean, you know, Ronnie Stanley being out, you know, I'll admit that one. So, you know, the moment Kevin Zeitler left, I feel like our offensive line plan globally has been deficient and or you know, separate from what I envision. So I'm not the professional at it. Those guys get paid to do it. Well, do you want to talk about, you know, the guys that we had discussed?
Yeah, I think it's
DeSantis
important
first.
I think that's important that the Ravens. I'd like to see the Ravens try to get a tackle that can play guard, a tackle that can play guard and then move out at the tackle. So this is Max Ihenekor, Arizona State. He's 6'6", 321, 34-inch arms. Kind of raw in that he's played for 3 years. That's my understanding. He's played football for 3 years. Before that, he's a basketball player, soccer player. He has soccer player feet. Really just very, very smooth and fast out of his stance. Nice, clean-looking kick slide. I think he's patient in pass protection, sometimes to a fault, but he creates a lot of space with his athleticism. He gets to a spot easily, quickly, and he creates a lot of space, and he kind of waits very often, particularly versus Texas Tech. You would see that against their pass rushers, for them to shoot. And very often, I would say 6 times in that game, they would hit air, and then he'd put his hands on them, you know.
So you're talking about the patience level that he has on an individual engagement, right, as the rusher is approaching what could be the strike zone or contact zone.
Yep, and he's got that space, good length, and I think he oversets a little bit outside because he's got great speed laterally, and he can recover it, and he can, if there's an inside counter or a move inside, he can cover that. I think he works real hard against speed. I think he's thinking about these edge rushers at Texas Tech, and the fact that they can get outside.
And you have that game, right? The Tech game.
Yep. He's got.
I had that one too.
I think he's a guy that could turn out to be the best lineman in this class. May take him a while to get there. I think.
What would you say are the chances, you know, for you that I'll tell you mine. The chances he's there at 45. I'll give you 2 things. The chances he's there at 45, and the chances that he's there at 45 and we take him. So I'll say 38 to 40%. 35% that he's there. And, you know, the negative part of my brain today after we signed John Simpson is like 20% chance we take him. So, you know, do the multiplication there, 35% times 20%. No, seriously, I think if he's there, he's got the requisite talent and future available to him that it's serious consideration if he's available at 45, that we have to say, hey, this is a guy who may not start for us because, Emory Jones can't play center, presumably neither can this guy. So, you know, he wouldn't be the best tackle that we have, but he would be a a player who could do a little bit of both. I don't know. Maybe other Ravens fans listening thinks that's a waste. I guess first for you, chances he's there at 45, and then chances that we take him if he is.
I don't think he'll be there. I don't know. 20% chance that he'll be there. 25 maybe.
Probably more realistic than mine.
I don't know. I think he's got too much potential. I think somebody's going to sling him out at right tackle and just let him take his lumps. I really do. And then 8 weeks into the year, you got yourself something. I don't know. I go back to the Chargers last year, losing both tackles, and that would be catastrophic for any team.
For this team, but for this team, yes. For
this team and for this year. I would love, maybe there's a guy late in the draft, a Tristan Lee or somebody like that, where out of Clemson, where you can get him in the 4th, let's say, and maybe he could come in if something happened to Ronnie, and he could play left, right, and we could move. What's his name? Our right tackle over left.
Rosengarten.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's one of the things I like about Max.
Played exceptionally well against David Bailey. Played exceptionally well, I thought.
I thought he was ready for him. Do you know what I mean? The idea that he prepared specifically for that rush and those rushers was impressive to me. I could tell. He actually, when he's going against speed too, he'll kind of lean back just a little too much, where if you got into his chest, you might be able to bull through him. But I didn't see anybody do that. You know, he's pretty athletic. He's so athletic, and he does a good job at creating space. I'd like to see him get a shot at the right guard position if we brought him in, because I would understand folks being disappointed at somebody not playing.
Right.
I would understand that.
Where do you I'll tell you two things, and this my question here, or my thought, is born out of, like, I just did a Lions podcast this morning with Will Rocked on Lions, great guy. He's been super helpful with the project you and I are working on. So just a great dude. And talking about their picks at 17 and 50. I think 17 is too early for this guy, probably. But I wonder about, a trade back scenario, well, for the Lions, or, for us before we acquired Max Crosby. Do you think that someone would look at him? Josh Simmons got drafted last year, 31 by the Chiefs?
Mm-hmm.
Could you see a team, late first round saying, this is a talented guy, maybe they hold the same opinion as you do, which is 2-3 years down the road, he could be the best guy, and we want to get that extra year of option, that 5th-year option available for him? What do you think is a possibility of him being drafted late first round? I think it's high.
Yeah, I think he's out. I think somebody gets him round 1. The Chiefs, don't they have 2 picks now?
Yeah, they do.
And they need a right tackle, right? Or did they sign somebody?
They got rid of Juwan Taylor.
Yeah.
So this will be an interesting one for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's gone first round at some point.
What struck me was I started with edge defenders, as you know. Most of my work was edge defenders for the first 3 or 4 weeks with the draft. And so David Bailey and Reuben Bain, I watched 3 or 4 games of Reuben Bain, saw him in the college football playoff, and was like, this guy's a spectacular football player, all pro talent, all the stuff about arm measurement, whatever. 2 or 3, I think now, the rumor is 3 other NFL teams have measured the guy at 30. I think 2 at 32 and 1 at 32 and a quarter.
Hmm.
So drastically different than what, he was officially measured at, which was, I'm trying to scroll and see it now, 30 and 7/8.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, David Bailey, I had watched 3 games of him, and I got to the Arizona State game. And I'll be honest with you, I don't get the time to watch college football during the season. And so I didn't know. I didn't know how that game turned out. And as I began watching the game, I was like, okay, it was a good rep by that guy against Bailey. He swallowed him up. Okay, the guy rode him out of there. And I found myself thinking, okay, middle second quarter or somewhere around that range, I was like, all right, this guy's doing a good job. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
The right tackle. And, the left tackle, Bailey got 2 wins against him. One was a ridiculous spin move. But you saw it in that game that there was an evening out of the talent. David Bailey was just so much more talented than some of the tackles he was going against. In this case, it was pretty even.
Yeah, good point.
And so I think your evaluation of him is spot on. You've done more film work of him than I have. I saw that game and pretty much had seen enough. I was like, oh, he's a really good football player. If he's available for us at 45, fantastic, but he'd probably be gone, chances are. The whole dynamic of moving him into right guard or guard at all sounds great, but now for Ravens, we've signed John Simpson, so our front office is probably moved off of that. But I think that's a great idea. I really do, because you've got tackle depth built in with this guy. Rosengarten can play on either side theoretically. Ronnie Stanley's a dedicated left tackle. I wouldn't have a problem if we took him at 45 at all. I'd be ecstatic. Would you?
Yeah. Yep. That'd be a statement to me. I don't mind us double dipping at an O-line, regardless of, give Emory Jones competition, take Bo the Iowa guard, take somebody in the third or fourth, throw them out there to compete. But I love the idea of a tackle that can play guard. That's
Agreed.
A legit tackle. I love that idea for the Ravens, and I do fancy him.
Well, what is your, now I've done no work on the other guy, the guard from Texas A&M and all. So you carried the last segment, so you got to carry this one too. DeSantis, right?
DeSantis, yeah. I would be surprised if he gets to the second round.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was wondering, was where do you see him? Because what little I have seen has him in the range is just in front of us, right?
Yeah. Yep. Early too. 6'5", 315, shorter arms, 31 3/4, technically sound, good hand placement, does stay square in pass protection. I like his quickness laterally, very quick getting to a spot, actively looks for work. We say that a lot, about people, but this guy actually looks for it and finds it. Has a good feel for the rush in front of him. Let's see, good job opening running lanes over for quick hitters, just getting to a spot, effective in sealing, able to anchor against power. Will sometimes lean. I think that's due to his arm length, but very impressive lateral quicks. Sometimes
almost 34 for the arm length. I mean, I've got this document.
Says
so not bad. It says 33 and 3/4 according to this.
Okay.
What I've got.
Yeah, I'm. That could be right. I saw this on the scouting combine, I think, is what they measured. But I think there may be other measures. He doesn't look 34-inch or 33 and 3, but I could be wrong on that.
I questioned some of those measurements, to be honest with you, because there's been so much. I don't know if you've seen the graphic. There was this differential graphic that basically had player names on the left side, and then, like a little bar, horizontal bar, where they measured at the NFL Combine and where they measured at the Senior Bowl. And it was consistent that you're talking about a differential, a subtraction, I guess, if you will.
Wow.
So interesting. Do you, if we had pick 14 and 45, and one of these guys was going to get taken, if we still had 14 and 45, do you think that we probably are looking at two guys that will be in between 14 and 45? Too early for 14, obviously. Yeah. Maybe too late for 45.
Right. You might be able to jump. I think you might be able to jump and get DeSantis in the second round if you wanted to. Like, he could go early, the first 5 picks or so, but if you were in love with him, you might be able to grab him. But yeah, they seem to be in between in general.
Now, I have one of my family members. He watches a lot of college football live because his son is playing at Vanderbilt, and he swears by Bo Stevens, the guard for Iowa.
Yeah.
Huge fan of him. And spent some time texting me back and forth, telling me this is a guy that right now people are not projecting to be as high. Maybe because we're at pick 80 as well. Maybe we think that there'll be a guard at 80, like a Rutledge. You did an eval of Rutledge, right? Yeah,
Rutledge and Stevens are both very impressive. But Stevens, man, you talk about an Iowa guy, but a guy that gets movement, consistent movement, moving guys off the football. And I don't know. I think both those two guys, people might be higher on in terms of the NFL teams than is being reported. But I think people are looking at them in the third round.
Yeah, seems like it.
I just don't know. What do you think the odds are, Coach? Would you give it any odds that the Ravens, if one of these guys, edge guys that we had looked at, you and I looked at, happens to be there at 45, any chance they take somebody like that?
I mean, that's really what you're talking about. Is you're talking about last year's draft, because I think we planned on going off O-line at the end of round 2. That's my suspicion. And then if Mike Green's sitting there, it's like, all right, well, we weren't planning on this happening. And one of the data points or pieces of evidence I would provide there is the Lions, sitting 1 pick behind us last year in round 2, and then trading up in front of us, I think 3 picks, maybe 4, somewhere in that range. And they took Tate Ratledge. They took a guard. I think they correctly saw our interior offensive line as a weakness. So, they're going to take Tate Ratledge. And, if they didn't take Tate Ratledge and he's there on the board when we take Mike Green, who knows? Maybe we take Ratledge. I doubt that regime's ability to correctly interpret interior offensive line. I don't have prior to today, I didn't have the same opinion with this regime at all because of Ledford and the offensive coordinator, Doyle. I still do think that we're going to address interior offensive line in this draft. I think we're probably looking at 2 picks here. So to answer your question, I don't think we would. You mean like a Dennis, some of the guys we've got there. Are you talking about like a Dennis Sutton, or are you talking about like one of the, like a Cassius Howell? Because to me,
if Cassius Howell is there, would they take him?
I don't think so, even though I really like him.
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned as other people with, the short arms thing, because his style is, I think his style befits his body size and his quickness and his speed.
Yeah.
There's going to be someone who takes Cassius Howell and uses him in a way that plays to his style. It's a fun player to watch. I find it hard to believe that he's not going to be able to succeed in the NFL against some of the same guys he had success against in college as the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And it's not like he padded his stats against 2 or 3 teams, consistent. So I don't know. I think right now I would say no. I don't think we do. I think we would address offensive line, our position of need, but we're so trained as Ravens fans to think BPA. I think in recent years at times we've neglected positional need in the draft to our detriment. That's my opinion. I know everyone else doesn't hold it because we've been pigeonholed, I guess, or forced to think about BPA constantly. And I just think that there's a time and place for that. And 45 this year doesn't look like that time or that place to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the several names we mentioned in terms of guard, Rutledge and Stevens are 2 names I think we should keep an eye on. Maybe in round 3. Guy from Notre Dame is interesting when we're just talking about guards. I have to look more into the tackle/guard thing. I want to look at the Clemson guy.
There's so many that are projected to possibly move to guard, and I think that depends on the team that they go to, which is along the same lines as what you've referred to, a tackle/guard for year 1, to sit. I think we're also, as Ravens fans, a little cautious. We've gone through 2 seasons of Ronnie being pretty much healthy the whole time.
Yeah.
We just would like to see that continue for him, but also for this team and for Lamar. Ultimately, Minter, I think, said it best, or maybe it was Doyle or both of them. If we protect Lamar Jackson and put him in positions to succeed, we're going to be a dynamic offense that scores a lot of points. So the frustration of the Simpson signing, and some who are concerned about giving up 2 first-round picks in a row, it might be, some of that frustration might be born out of that concern for Lamar and the offensive line. I don't know. I still am optimistic about this staff valuing offensive line more than Harbaugh and those guys did. Not making not making mistakes of evaluation, and then doubling and tripling down on it like they did with Falele.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. We haven't really even talked about the center replacement or who that might be yet, and where they might find that. Seems to me a lot of the centers that are in the draft are a little bit like
Linderbaum
in the sense that they're undersized and perhaps a little athletic. There's a guy in Michigan State who's interesting, who's a little bit bigger, a little bit slower, you know, more traditional.
Everybody talks about Slaughter from Florida. I just don't know where I don't know where he fits for us pick-wise. He certainly doesn't fit at 45 or 80, in my opinion. And I think he's gone by then.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm sure they've analyzed who they have at center, or who they could have at center now. Who's the guy that made Bullock?
Yep.
I'm sure they have a feel for him, but it seems like you might have to draft somebody if that's all we have on our roster right now that we would trust out there. You know,
I could definitely see us being in on a center. If we drafted a dedicated guard at 45, you know, someone who's only a guard, a Pregnon or, you know, whoever, or Besantis, I could see us drafting 3 offensive linemen with all the picks that we have, meaning a dedicated guard, a developmental tackle, even though we took a developmental tackle last year, a really developmental tackle in Vincent. I know you and I have the same opinion there.
Yeah.
And then a dedicated center. So I think maybe that first O-line pick kind of is a domino or determines the remaining one or how many actual O-line picks we make. If we got a tackle / guard, then maybe we could just take one center and be okay with 2 O-line picks. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I saw Rutledge take snaps at center at the Senior Bowl. Come to think of it, it's just not.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant in the season. Yeah.
And so that's interesting. You know, that's not uncommon to find some tackle or something that can come in and play center for you. There's the Duke guy. I think he was tackle, right? Brian something. I haven't watched him yet.
Brian Parker. I thought you were referring to the Duke tackle / guard / center that went to Tampa Bay in last year's draft and played center. Or maybe it was 2 years ago. But yeah, I think all of us are justified in having some concern for the offensive line after spending $10 million a year on a guy who we've seen before as penalty prone. I don't know how many sacks he's credited with giving up last year. I don't really even quote those numbers. Sometimes you give up a sack, but really the pressure was created elsewhere, and the quarterback moved in your direction because you're the only safe place for him to go. You know?
Right.
And the guy you're blocking ends up with the sack. Actually, I just saw one of those. Cade Mays signed with the Lions, and I had his game against the Rams in the playoffs, the wild card win. The Rams went down there and won the game 34-31. 3 offensive linemen for the Panthers obliterated. I mean, just obliterated on one play. And Cade Mays is the only guy battling Fisk, 55. And the quarterback escapes in Mays' direction because it's the only safe area. Everything else has been collapsed onto him. And Fisk happens to be on one leverage side, and that's where Young goes, and he gets the sack. Well, the sack is applied to Mays, but whose fault is it? Well, it's the left tackle, the right tackle, and the right guard who got annihilated.
Yeah.
You know, really, that's what led. So for me, like Simpson giving up, someone said 6 sacks, another person said 5. I don't even like quoting it because I haven't seen all the film to know how many of those were actually his fault and how many of those were created by, you know, other stuff. I put a tweet out today that was like, I can't believe I'm going to have to watch Jets offense film, but I guess, you know, here we go. You're a little bit ahead of me. I did 5 quarters and stopped.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a chance that he doesn't start given that money, but you never know with the new regime. That was one of the things I was really hopeful about, was that with a new coach, guys that feel good about their job every year with Harbaugh, under Harbaugh, even veteran guys coming back, maybe they don't feel so good about it anymore. You know, they the best player get on the field. That's a lot of money to spend for a guy that you might use in a backup role under that scenario. But I'd like to think that
competition absolutely brings out the best in competitors. Competition does not bring out the best in losers. There's very few losers in the NFL. These guys are competitors. These guys want to get on the field. They want to make money. And well, John Simpson has made money here with this contract. I, think that any type of competition is a good thing, meaning a rotation or opportunities that are declared first half, second half. I've seen that work before. Or just in preseason being open about it. And Ravens fans, I think, myself included here, the level of frustration became too much to bear in the last 2 years because John Harbaugh and then Warhop were direct. There is no competition. There is no competition. The right guard is set. And we all saw it. I mean, even in the preseason, it was garbage, with some of the things that Falele could not do. So do you think Simpson is better than Falele?
I do. Yep, I do. I wonder. It's a ton of money. That's the only thing that holds me back. But I wonder if they have an idea that they're going to take, say, a Bo Stevens, but they want him to kind of be behind Simpson at least for some of the season. But but they're trying.
Stevens guy, Kentucky.
Stevens is.
Iowa. Okay,
Iowa.
Kentucky guy's Farmer. My bad.
Farmer. Yep.
I got my list over here.
Yep.
Document
over. That's interesting. That if you're thinking that far ahead, where you've got a guy that's at least going to be solid and at least for whatever it's worth, a bit of an upgrade versus Voorhees, and then midway through the season you let Stevens or whomever come in and beat him out, or
if they can, yeah.
That way,
certainly depth. That 17-game season is I think is not just one more game than a 16-game season. I said this to Will Rock this morning. Like I said, I was on his podcast this morning, and if you want to win a Super Bowl, it's not a 17-game season. It's a 20-game season. Maybe 21. If you play in the first round of the playoffs, but if you get home field advantage for the playoffs, it's a 20-game season, right? If I did my math right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about you need depth at the offensive line. And I wouldn't have a problem if the Ravens went O-line at all at 45. You've done more homework than me at that guard spot specifically. Even though, the Arizona State guy is a tackle going into this draft, we could see him moving to guard if he was, well, depending on who picks him. Do you still want to watch more offensive line film? Because I'm still working on I showed you my to-do list.
Yeah.
Still working on receivers and a couple of corners.
I just started receivers. I gotta get more of a handle on corners, but I want to look at some of these guys, tackle guard guys. I've watched a good bit of Bo Stevens. I want to look at some centers. I want to figure that out.
Me too.
See what's out there.
Well, I think this one kind of turned into a different production than you were expecting. So let me officially apologize for that. But my stack of work today and even the last couple of days was so high that I just didn't get to any of these second round guards at all like we intended. So I apologize for that.
Nope, it's been crazy, man. It was a busy few days for sure.
But we made it work. We made it work. And since we're this far in, I'll kind of reveal a little bit of a hint of something. EA and I, and as well as like 6 other guys who I will name eventually and credit for their contribution. We're working on a massive project that's related to the draft that at some point soon I would like to, along with you and others, on screen kind of reveal and give people access to that we hope will be fun. And so for that and for changing up the approach this evening, I want to thank you.
Yes. Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Yeah. Just as a further non-spoiler for what Coach is referring to. It's really, really beautiful. I think people are going to dig it. It's really looking great and coming together.
Yeah, we've been blessed by some people smarter than me, and so we'd like to pass that on. Well, thank you, for joining in tonight, and anyone who listened this long, really appreciate it. Difficult day, possibly, for Ravens fans. To a certain degree, we should feel proud of the draft class that the front office brought in 2022. I think I wonder if maybe we had it, I don't want to say easy mode that year, but we had so many fourth-round picks, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we were picking from, the selection there in the fourth round. Some said that it was like late second-round talent that we were drafting because of the pandemic and the delayed nature of people entering the draft a year later than they should have. So we should be proud of that, number one. Number two, it's still difficult to see all that talent leave the building. Kolar, likely. And I think, do you think it's made more difficult that they went to the Giants and the Chargers en masse?
No, not for me.
Not for you, but for some people it could be.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure people feel resentful of the fact that Kolar Stout likely went. I'm a little surprised likely went to the Giants.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised by that. I just hadn't figured that's where he'd end up. But
Ardarius too.
Yeah. Oh well.
As your guy, you were one of the first people to talk about, seeing in him, potential starter type guy, and he turned into it in 24.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's got some success for them.
I hope so. Hope he's healthy. He's a good ball player.
Well, appreciate you guys' time, for checking this one out and joining in. If you sat around this long, it's been a crazy first day of pseudo free agency, one that we only participated in from Huntley, I think, and then John Simpson with the earlier acquisition of Max Crosby, who's really our headliner, obviously, for this offseason. Well, I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed it, please let us know in the comment section, like always. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy our thoughts, even though they might have been meandering and didn't include any film, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.